James here with the Oracle Outlook for the week starting September the 2nd, 2019. Thanks so much for tuning in and joining me for this week's video reading. This week, I'm returning to that tweaked and modified weekly spread that I worked with a couple of weeks ago, and I'm very excited because I'm going to be using Lenormand with it for the very first time. And because of that, I thought I would work with my favorite Lenormand deck. So if you are no stranger to these videos, you know that my favorite Lenormand deck is Fanu's Lilac Dondorf. And if you are new and you didn't know that, I will be leaving information about the deck in the description box below so you can learn more about it. So once again, I'm working with Fanu's Lilac Dondorf, and now that I've set things up, let's get to the table and take a closer look at the cards that are going to be showing up in this week's weekly spread. And here we are with the cards on the table, and I'm going to take a few moments to shuffle the deck. And as I shuffle the cards, I'm focusing on my usual intention for these weekly general readings, and that is for the information, for the insight, for the guidance and advice that is going to be most helpful and beneficial as we move through the upcoming week. Alright, I'm feeling that's good, and now I'm going to go ahead and cut the deck. Now I'm going to fan the cards out. And now I'm looking at the fan, and I'm going to be pulling 8 cards from the fan that are getting my attention, because this spread that I work with these days consists of 8 cards. Alright, so I've pulled the cards. Now I'm going to set the remainder of the deck to one side. I'm going to check myself. So 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's a check to make sure that I have 8 cards, and it reverses the order. So now I'm starting with the card that I pulled first. And so now I'm going to lay the cards out. And if you're new here, the spread that I'm working with is a variation of the weekly spread that I have been working with as of late. I was inspired to tweak it and modify it, so this is my modified version of that. Each card is going to represent one day in the week except for the final card. So the way I lay it out is that the first 3 cards get laid to the left side of our space here, and they go in ascending order, right? So the way I read the cards is I read them from Monday to Sunday. So this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? Then the 4th card goes to the very top, like so. And for me, when I was given the inspiration to modify this, this became the heart of the week. I read it as hump day, which is like the idea of like getting over the hump, right? Which is a common expression here in the United States where I live. And so then the next 3 cards go in descending order back down to the other side, like so. So if this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, this is be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's how I lay out the cards for the week. And then the 8th card goes in the middle underneath card 4. And the interesting thing with this is that with Lenormand, there are lots of ways that you could choose to make additional meaning for the cards. You could combine cards 1 and 7, 2 and 6, 3 and 5, and then just like I used to do with the pyramid spread that I worked with not so long ago, you could take card 4 and pair it with card 8, right? And you could also, build on each card. So let's say you take the card that represents Monday and then pair it with the card that represents Tuesday. What is that saying as a combination possibly for both days, and so on and so on and so on, right? How can you build on each day with the next day's card to create meaning? Because there's so many things you could do with Lenormand, right? So I'm very excited to work with this. This is the first time I'm giving it a go with Lenormand. And so the way I usually start is that I look to the middle card at the bottom here, and this is the overall theme card, right? So taking a look at that, here we have Rider. So Rider is a card that represents news and messages. So this is going to be a week where we need to be mindful of communication, right? Because of the news and message aspect of it. So this could be news and messages that we put out, meaning that we're sending out, and also news and messages that are coming our way. Another possibility for me with this card can be about visits and arrivals. So there may be something having to do with either going on a visit or someone visiting you, or arriving somewhere or somebody arriving, or something coming your way, right? So again, this is about news and messages, visits and arrivals. So now to be very interesting, if we lay the card back down, we have movement, right? Because we have the rider on a horse. So when we look at card 1, this could be something where the rider is moving away from, and then because the rider is facing to the right, moving towards card 7. So we may need to keep that in mind as we're exploring the spread. So now let's take a look at the card representing Monday. And here we have birds. So here we have news and messages. If we go with rider, then this is verbal communication, right? So this is about messages that are being discussed or conversation, right? Now, one way for me with birds is through the phone, right? So this could be news and messages sent through the phone. So again, we talk on the phone. But in this day and age, we also send texts and voice notes on the phone as well. So that would also serve birds in the sense of the voicemail, because you're leaving an auditory message, right? Or a voice note, right? So by itself, Monday could be a day where the theme or the energy of it has to do with conversation. So this is verbal communication. So maybe paying attention to the words that we speak, especially if we're sending messages out. Remember what rider is in terms of the overall theme, right? And then also too, to maybe pay attention to the words that are spoken to us. Now another possibility is that birds, because there's 2 on the illustration or in the image for me, can represent something having to do with a couple or a partnership because of the 2 bird aspect. Another possibility, because most people when you think of a couple or a partnership automatically go into romance mode and think it has to do with a love type situation. But sometimes for me the birds can represent siblings. So there may be a conversation between siblings or cousins, because those are additional meanings of the birds for me. And then finally, from an emotional standpoint, birds can be a card that talks about, frustration. So Monday could be a frustrating day, and it may center around communication, right? So there may be a conversation that we have, and we walk away from it with a sense of frustration, or that we're frustrated during the conversation, right? Or another thing is about anxiety, being nervous, right? From an emotional standpoint. So there may be a conversation we feel we need to have, but we're nervous about it. Right? And then rider would add to that, we're nervous about delivering a particular message, right? Or that there may be an expression of sorrow. Like we verbally communicate our sorrow to another person, because this card can also be talking about sorrow. So again, birds can represent, for Monday, conversation, discussions, maybe something having to do with a couple or partnership or siblings or cousins even. You know, from an emotional standpoint, there may be frustration or being nervous on Monday about something or expressing some kind of sorrow. So that's what I see with the birds for Monday. And so now let's move to Tuesday. And so here we have, for Tuesday, we have the garden card. So Tuesday is a day that has to do with the public or something of a social nature. Because my meaning for garden has to do with the public and something social. So now if we go back to Rider being the theme for the week, then this may be a public message or a social message of some kind. You know, something that deals with a group or a community, other people. Now this could also be a day where something may involve nature, because this for me can represent nature, like being outdoors, out in nature. It could also be something having to do with a social event or something at a public gathering place, some kind of venue for an event maybe even. And then I would say, for me, that if this card is offering a piece of advice, then garden is about doing what comes naturally, right? Again, playing on the idea about nature, right? So maybe taking a look at your nature, what's natural to you. Somebody may even be thinking about going natural. And that can mean different things to different people, but I'm feeling led to say about going natural. Right, so it's very interesting. We have something going on here, right? If I lay the card down, with birds and rider, we had this idea about communication between maybe two parties, right? And then with the garden card, it opens up. And now there's more people involved in that, right? So it may be like a conversation with one person in particular on Monday, and then it may be a group discussion or a group conversation, right? I'm pairing these, right? Conversation with a group of people, conversation with other people, you know, a public discussion. And then the three cards together makes me feel like, especially on Tuesday, there may be something having to do with social media, right? And it could be a tweet. Birds would be a tweet. So this may be about Twitter in particular, and there may be a message on Twitter that's being delivered. And that there may be some reaction to it. That may be frustration. Right, so it'll be very interesting to see what kind of public discussions take place at the beginning part of the week. Right now, I talked about rider being about visits and arrivals, so this could be a visit or an arrival by other people, you know, by a group of people, especially if we're talking about a public or social venue, right? Then it could be a group of people arriving at this particular event or at this particular venue. Right? Or that we are planning to go visit other people, a group of people, right? So again, for Tuesday with garden, garden can represent the public, something being social. It could be about getting outdoors or something having to do with nature specifically. And then there may be something having to do with news or messages for the public. right? And if this is about birds, coming back to that, this is about, you know, feelings and emotions. Remember I said this was about frustrations or frustration with a group of people or public frustration, right? The first card tells us what it is and then the second card describes it. So public frustration, you know, sorrow in regards to a group or community, right? And that would be due to some kind of arrival of something. So that is Monday and Tuesday. Now let's take a look at Wednesday. And here we have Clover. Okay, so Clover talks about luck, fortune, and opportunity. Those are my keywords for this. So Wednesday could be a fortunate day or a lucky day. You know, so feeling very lucky, very fortunate. And now, if this is opportunity with Rider, this could be news of an opportunity. You know, Clover for me can represent a chance. So this could be a day of taking some kind of chance or taking our chances. Right, and so now Clover can represent a little bit of something. So this usually represents a little bit of luck. But some days, any luck is good, right? So even a little bit of luck is still a good thing, right? So again, there could be an opportunity being presented on Wednesday. Could be a very lucky or fortunate day. Or it could be a day where we take some kind of chance or take our chances with something. Right, and putting the card back down, we pair it with garden. Then here we have, you know, a public opportunity, you know, group or community either has something lucky or fortunate happen to them. They experience a little bit of luck, or that there is a group or community that takes a chance on something. And if we're talking about news or messages, this is an opportunity maybe or a gamble on something going public. So that's how I see Wednesday. Oh, and I was about to move on. The other thing that I would say about Clover in relation to an energy or theme for the day is that this card could be talking about, you know, being spontaneous. That's another one of my things for Clover. It's about spontaneity, right? So spontaneity means like being in the moment. And that would be a challenge for someone like me because I am a planner, right? So having said that, for those of you who may be like me who are planners, then maybe the theme or the advice for the day is about spontaneity. So it could just be a matter of taking a chance on something, right? And being spontaneous and being in the moment, right? Now, I will say this. For those of you who are gardeners, this is just coming to me. If garden can represent a literal garden, then clover could represent weeds in the garden, right? And this would be like the arrival or visit of weeds in the garden, and then we may need to be pulling weeds, because that is one of my personal meanings for this card. Clover is weeds, right? And I'm seeing this is garden, nature, the outdoors, so this could be, you know, maybe some sort of field, or, you know, that's in a large sense, an open area that may have a lot of weeds in it, right? Again, because Lenormand can also be quite literal, right? But I'm thinking overall, this is about, you know, luck, fortune, opportunities being presented, taking a chance or taking chances, and being spontaneous. All right, so now let's take a look at the card that represents the heart of the week. And here we have Crossroads. So on Thursday, This is a day for options, alternatives. This is about choices and selections. Crossroads is about, making a choice or a decision of some kind. So if I put the card back down just briefly because of the way the layout is, this could be that there's a decision that's upcoming, right? Because it's at the very top of the layout here, right? We're moving towards having to make some kind of decision, right? And it could be connected to the opportunity that I talked about with Clover. If there's an opportunity being presented, then the following card would suggest there's going to be a decision that needs to be made about the opportunity. Right? And then going with the literal aspect of crossroads, I'll hold it back up. Crossroads can talk about a path, right? So this is known as the paths or the ways. So there may be something having to do with a path or a route or going a particular way. It could also be about an approach, going with the idea that this could be a road, right? So it could be about the road that we're traveling down. And that would make sense for some people because rider, being on a horse, can represent land travel, right? So this could represent land vehicles for me. And then this would be, traveling on the road, perhaps, for some people, going certain ways or certain routes or avenues. Another possibility with crossroads more metaphorically is that we're taking a look at our path in life. We may be coming up to a metaphorical fork in the road and asking ourselves, where do we go from here? Right? And choosing the best course, the best road to go down, the best road to travel down. Right? And then the last thing I will say is that this card for me can represent multiples of something. Right? So if we put it down again, and if this is about opportunities and chances, there may be multiple opportunities and multiple chances. Right? But I'm seeing these two as talking about the opportunity or an opportunity being presented that we have to make a decision about. So that's how I would look at crossroads. So now let's take a look at the next card. So this is Friday going into the weekend. So here by week's end, by Friday, whip is a card that can represent some sort of conflict, right? So now the first thing I would think of is that if the day before crossroads, that card is talking about making a decision of some kind, there may be some conflict with the decision-making ability or the situation revolving around that. Now, if we talk about news and messages, remember the overall theme of Rider, this could represent some sort of debate or some sort of argument. So there may be news and messages that result in or lead to some kind of fight or some kind of argument or something that's being debated. Now another possibility as maybe a course of action, this card is about, working out. So I call this the sorting through things or working something out, but it can also literally represent a workout, being physical, a physical workout. So I'm thinking about like, getting exercise, going to the gym, those kinds of things. It could also be about cleaning something up. This is known as the whip and the broom. So the broom aspect of the card is about cleaning something up. So Friday may be a day of cleanup. So again, for me, this card can represent conflict. It could represent an argument. It could represent the need to sort something out or work something out. Or in the case of something being physical, then this is about an actual workout, an actual exercise routine. And another possibility that's just coming to me is that this is a card for me that can represent discipline. Right? So it could be on Friday, there may be a need to exercise some discipline in some way. Right? So that is how I would look at whip. And so as I put the card down, remember that for me, going with the card that came before it, so this could be, a decision that leads to some sort of conflict, or a decision that results in an argument, or even a decision that leads to anger, because from an emotional standpoint, whip can be, anger. So again, the argument is heated words, right? So this could be heated words in that context. But if we just take the words aspect out and just go with the emotions that attach to it, then this is about anger. Right? And if this is about a decision that leads to conflict, remember now this could be about the opportunity, right? And if I pair the two cards, this is an opportunity or taking a chance on working something out, or that somebody may be spontaneous regarding physical exercise or working something out, or getting a workout, or there's a chance or opportunity being presented that allows an exercise in discipline, right? The opportunity to exercise discipline. So that's how I would look at these three cards. So now let's move on to the card that represents Saturday. And here we have ship. Okay, so now here we have a card that represents travel, just like the rider. The only difference is that this card can represent long distance travel. Right, so we have something here with rider about maybe short commutes, and then maybe something further out with ship. But aside from the travel aspect, ship can also be talking about something moving forward. This is my moving forward card. This is about progression. This is about advancement. But it may be something that takes time, because ships take time to travel over water. And as I said, the word ship, it's making me feel like maybe for some people there may be something having to do with a shipment, because this card can be about shipping. So this could be about something being transported or a shipment. This is a commerce card, so this could be something having to do with commerce or some kind of commercial venture. And then the last thing I will say is that this may have to do with something foreign, of a foreign nature, or something overseas. And that's why, because I'm looking, as I was saying that, I was looking at the other side. And here we have garden on this side, so this would be nature, foreign, right? And I said something of a foreign nature, right? This could also be about a group or community of foreigners. So for some people, I talked about this idea about, the visit or arrival. This may be the visit or arrival from a group of people who are foreigners, who are coming from overseas or coming from some long distance. Right, and it could also be pairing these two cards, news and messages about a shipment, something being shipped. News and messages about a commercial venture, and maybe pertaining to whether or not it's moving forward or not. And this is why, because if we pair these two cards, then we have conflict with a commercial venture, or a conflict that is overseas, foreign conflict. And then here we have a decision, or looking at options, alternatives to a foreign conflict. Right, and as I'm seeing this, I'm also looking at this. If I go with this as a group of people, this could be a group of people on a ship. First thing that came to me was like being on a cruise. Right, so there may be something with a cruise ship and people on a cruise ship out to sea. Or that if somebody was thinking about going on a cruise, there may be some sort of conflict with that and they have to make a decision about that. You know, and it may be a matter of taking a chance. You know, are you going to take a chance, or maybe it's about like taking a chance and going or not going. So that's what I'm seeing with ship. I would say the overall energy of that day has to do around travel. So there may be something with, you know, travel in particular, but I'm also seeing that in regards to shipping or some kind of shipment. And so there may be news or messages about that, but in and of itself, it could be about travel. So now let's take a look at the last card. Rounding the, yeah, here we have mountain. So mountain is a card for me that can represent a challenge, a block, or an obstacle, right? And if we put the card down, then we have the ship going to the mountain, right? So there's something about travel being blocked or challenged, or there's going to be some sort of setback or delay. Remember, that brings me right back to what I said about garden. Garden was about, you know, a public event, something social. So for some people, this may be around some sort of travel plans. The overall theme could be about our travel or travel plans, and there may be some sort of block, obstacle, or some sort of setback or delay. Right, so I'm seeing two possibilities. It could be with the theme of visits and arrivals. So this could be about somebody departing, a departure, or that somebody's having difficulty coming back. So for some people, if they're planning on vacations and going somewhere, there may be something around that. Or if they are already out on their vacation, there may be something about the ability to come back in. With mountain being about, you know, a block or a challenge or some sort of setback or delay. Now, if it's not about that, if we just take it on face value and it's just representing Sunday, the day by itself, then there may be challenges or blocks, or there may be some sort of setback or delays in that particular day. Right? And it could be, if we go with the idea that ship could be about progression, advancement, and moving forward, when I get the mountain card, for me, it can usually represent like procrastination. Like we want to move forward doing certain things, and then something happens, and I'm going with the image, like the wind gets taken out of our sails, and then we kind of just put it off, right? So again, it's making me feel like this card is talking about a delay, a setback, and ultimately maybe even something being postponed, right? Now, I will say this, and this is a nice way to end on a more positive note with mountain, is that this card would talk about, you know, overcoming something, right? Because we climb mountains. And some people do it literally. I do not. I do that metaphorically. So this is about climbing or overcoming a mountain. So it would represent whatever the block or the challenge is. It's not insurmountable. You can overcome it. It just may be a matter of timing because of the setback and delay aspect of the mountain card, right? But it's not insurmountable, right? Now, if we read the three cards across, remember I made a point of recognizing that rider was moving away from birds and towards mountain now, right? So here we have maybe news, you know, news and messages, but this is a conversation. being delivered about what? About a setback or a delay or something being postponed, right? And on that note, I will go ahead and end this week's Oracle Outlook video reading here. I'm James Himm Mitchell, and I am so thankful and so grateful that you've taken the time to share this space here with me for this week's reading. And I look forward to sharing the same space with you again in our next video reading together. So until then, I'm hoping that you have a wonderful day. And I'm hoping that you have a wonderful week. Despite whatever setbacks or delays that show up, you can overcome them. Take care.